New Hampshire officials are expected to give new information in the death of a mom and her 2 children in Northfield. Let's take a listen.
Were gunshot wounds, and the manner of death was homicide in each of those 3 cases. The investigation remains active and ongoing through the night and through the day today. Investigators at this point believe they have identified all of the involved parties, and as a result do not believe there is any danger to the public in general at this time. With that, again, I'm happy to answer questions to the extent I can, but we are, I will stress, within the first 48 hours of this investigation, and so the information I can provide is limited at this point.
When you say they've identified all involved parties, including a suspect?
So I can't comment specifically on a suspect, but when I say all involved parties, I mean anyone who was involved in the incident, correct?
So when you say the public shouldn't worry, but yet there was a mother and 2 kids shot to death in their home, why shouldn't people worry?
So people would need to be worried if we had not identified all of the parties involved. People may need to be worried if we believe somebody was on the loose or unaccounted for. Where we believe we've identified all of the parties and we don't believe anyone is unaccounted.
Try that again.
We'll try that one
Try
again.
that yeah.
So, what I can say with respect to that is we've identified all the involved parties, meaning they're accounted for, and so there's no reason to believe that the public in general is in any sort of danger from, say, a perpetrator of this offense.
So it's not a random event? You don't believe this is a random event?
We do not believe this is a random event, no.
Any connection between this and your other unsolved homicide here in Congress?
No connection whatsoever.
Is the father of the boys, the husband, is he a witness? Is he a person of interest? How would you describe his connection?
So what I can say about that is the father is somebody we have been in contact with, who has been very cooperative and helpful in this investigation. Our victim witness advocate is working with him and his family and providing services, and he's obviously beyond devastated as a result of these crimes.
Does the investigation go further into the family involved? Other members of the family other than the husband?
In terms of what?
Looking at other people within the family.
So the investigation, again, we're within the first 48 hours, but what I can say generally is any homicide investigation is going to leave no stone unturned with respect to the victims and victims' known associates and family, and the same with any suspects or possible perpetrators.
Do you have the weapon involved?
So I can't comment on that at this point in the investigation.
So just to be clear, because you haven't released that anybody has been formally arrested or charged, no one has been formally arrested and charged in this case as of this point?
That is correct. No one has been arrested or charged in this matter.
Jeff, can you tell us about the 911 call and where that call came from?
I can't give you any more specifics about the 911 call. Obviously, that's information that we have, but at this point in the investigation, with the investigation ongoing, that's information we're not releasing at this point.
When do you think this murder took place?
Wednesday.
Wednesday, what time?
I don't want to get into the details in terms of a time, but obviously prior to 11:30 a.m.
Were the victims all found inside the house?
The victims were found inside the residence.
Bedrooms, different rooms?
I'm not going to provide any specifics with respect to that.
Jeff, were police been called to that address before, and if so, what?
I can't comment on that.
Do you know if the victims were asleep when they were shot?
I wouldn't be able to comment on that.
Were they found?
Again, details that I wouldn't provide at this stage in the investigation.
Single gunshot?
Single gunshot wound is to each, correct.
Can you rule out the husband as a suspect?
So, I can't comment on suspects, period. What I can tell you is what I said before, is that we have been in contact with the husband, that he has been very cooperative and helpful in this investigation, and he is working with our victim witness services coordinator. We are providing services to him and his family through our Office of Victim Witness Assistance.
Jeff, was he near the residence in that time frame that you're talking about?
So that's not information that I would release at this point.
When do you plan on filing either warrants or arrests or charges at this point?
So that, as you're aware, in any case, is not something that we can predict. What I can stress again is that we're in the first 48 hours of this investigation. As I think many of you have seen, there's still active work ongoing at the scene. So we're still early in this investigation.
But you know who did the shooting?
That's not what I'm suggesting. Is we know all the parties involved.
Can you tell us what kind of gun was used, a rifle or a handgun?
I'm not going to provide the specifics on that, only because of where we are in the investigation.
So if you know who did it, why aren't they in custody?
So, again, and what I've said, I have not said we know who did it. I have said we have identified all of the parties involved. We're within the first 48 hours of this investigation. What I can speak to generally in any homicide investigation is these are complex investigations, oftentimes complex. Every time you ask a question, some big truck goes by. Yeah, no, Mike takes care of that. In any homicide investigation, we're dealing with complex scenes and complex scenarios. We have to await autopsies being done. We have to await forensic testing that does not move as quickly as it does on television, in terms of getting back forensic testing results and things like that. So generally speaking, in any homicide investigation, how quickly something progresses to an arrest or a charge is going to vary. We're only within 48 hours here. There's still work being done on the case at the scene. And so, we're still moving very quickly in terms of any timeline, but I can't predict on when an arrest or charges could come.
Any evidence of a break-in, or was anything missing from the house?
That's not something I'd be able to share or reveal at this point.
Gunshot wound self-inflicted?
What's that?
Was the mother's gunshot wound self-inflicted?
So what I can tell you is that the medical examiner's finding was that the cause of death was a gunshot wound and the manner of death was homicide. Homicide is defined, as they use it at the medical examiner's office, as the killing of one person by another.
Can you update us on Concord murders? I know you've been involved in that for a while now. Still nothing. Can you just give us a general update on what you're still looking for from the public?
Sure. With respect to switch gears to Concord, that has remained active and ongoing. We've been, in fact, in touch with those folks all week this week as well, in addition to having other cases that we're working. When I say those folks, Concord Police Department, we're still looking for and have not identified the individual depicted in the sketch and whose physical description that we have provided previously publicly. Still looking for information, any information from the public with respect to that individual who may know or have seen that individual and seen, again, sometimes memories come back to folks and had seen anything suspicious or concerning in that area, in the area of those trails. But that investigation remains very active as well.
Do you need the public's help in Northfield at all?
Not at this point, no.
Jeff, getting back to that, would it be reasonable to believe the person that you are looking for in the current case is no longer in this area?
So, getting back to Northfield, what we believe, what I can tell you, I would not draw that conclusion from what I've said. Is that we have identified all of the parties, and we don't believe that there's any danger to the public.
Was the manner of death for the children homicide?
It was for all three victims. Yep.
Jeff, do you have anyone in custody who has not been charged and connected with the Sweeney's murders?
Anyone? I guess I'm not sure I follow.
Well, okay, so you know everybody who's been involved. Are they all, at home and already been questioned and free to do whatever they want to do, or are they being questioned and being held somewhere and just not been charged yet formally?
So I think what I can best say with respect to that is that there's been no arrest or charge in connection with these homicides. But again, reiterate that we believe we've identified everyone involved.
There's actually about Nashua, there's a suspicious death down there. What do you have on that?
So obviously, I've been talking about 48 hours. We're within, first hour with respect to that. So, what I can tell you at this point is we have prosecutors responding down there, members of my office to work with the Nashua Police Department to investigate that suspicious death.
And where is that, and male or female?
So I don't have any of those specifics. What I can tell you is that it was at a business, outside of a business in Nashua.
Can you just finally just talk about Northfield, back to Northfield? People are just shaken to the core that a mother with two little children were all shot to death in broad daylight in their house. Can you just talk about that effect that it has on your office and your prosecutors and investigators, and what's this few days been like for you all?
So, we have to approach these from our law enforcement perspective, from the perspective of getting the investigation done, finding the perpetrator, and bringing that perpetrator to justice. There's obviously a human element here, though, and these are devastating crimes. And what we focus on in those moments are how devastating they are for the families, and making sure that we're doing our job and not resting until we can find a perpetrator, we can bring a perpetrator to justice. Certainly, personnel-wise, there's a strain on our office when there are a number of homicides in a row, and we've had a run of it this year, to say the least, and now this week. But we have the personnel to cover these. We work with the different agencies who have the personnel to cover these, and we just keep going.
Jeff, would it be a reasonable conclusion that if you've spoken to all the parties involved, the 3 who died knew their killer?
Again, I'm not gonna, I guess, fuel that sort of speculation. I'm gonna stick to the statements that I've made with respect to the fact that we've identified all of the parties involved.
Are you confident that someone will be charged with 3 counts of murder in connection with what happened in Northfield?
So I don't prognosticate in any case. I'm confident that we've identified the parties, and that's what I'll stick to at this point.
What's your message to the public that's concerned about this type of violence?
The message to the public with respect to this case is that there's no reason to be concerned for their safety, that there's no reason to believe that they're in any danger in connection with this case. But certainly this type of violence is devastating to a family and devastating to a community.
One last question. If you've spoken to all parties, will those parties have a defense attorney with them when you spoke to them?
So, again, that's not something I would comment on at this point in investigation.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you all.
Appreciate it.